Where to begin? Well, apparently I drink Pepsi now, which is not a thing I did before moving to London. So as you probably gathered from the title of this video, it's all about my move to London, more specifically life in London since moving here. I wanted to do a sort of 1 month in London video. It's actually been more like 7 weeks now. So if somehow you've missed it, I'm not sure how because I feel like I've been going on and on about it. I moved to London from Edinburgh in Scotland to London in England. Not that far really. I mean, it's a different country, but it's in the same country. What I mean to say is it's not exactly like I've moved to another continent. I have moved to London. It's about 4.5 hours on the train from Edinburgh. It's a big and a small move. I specifically moved down at this time because I got a job in London. I am the creative producer at Pan Macmillan, which are a publishing house here in the UK. Amongst other things, I am responsible for Book Break, which is our YouTube video series. And I have to start by saying I am so very much enjoying this job, as well as very much enjoying being in London. I have wanted to move to London for quite some time now. I actually think I decided I wanted to move to London around age 18. I didn't want to move at 18 to London, but I got the idea into my head that one day I wanted to live in London. I came to London for my 18th birthday with my mum, and we stayed with a family friend in London who has on many occasions since then let me stay with her. She is a very important part of my family, and I had a wonderful 18th birthday with both of them. We went to the Sherlock Holmes Museum because that's what I wanted to do on my 18th birthday, okay? And that was just such a wonderful trip, and it was the first time I really experienced London as an adult, even as a teenager. I'd been to London quite a few times as a child, but not really in my teenage years, and the city just got me so excited. And since then I have gradually spent more and more time in London over the years. I think it wasn't for another 2 years I came back down to London, and that was for my first ever booktube meetup. And once again I had a wonderful time, and it really just reinvigorated that desire in me to eventually move down to London. It was always an eventually though. It wasn't until I finished my undergrad at 22 that I really started to consider the actual move. And sort of from around age 22 to now, I'm 24, so another 2 years, I've been planning this move, or planning the ways to facilitate this move. Of course, I would never have sacrificed any of my other goals in life to move down here, but London actually in a way facilitates a lot of my dreams in life, and it's a really wonderful place to be doing the things I want to do. Not to mention that I've made so many friends over the past few years on YouTube who actually live in or near London, so I felt like I had a lot of friends here, and quite a few of my friends from my undergraduate who are still my closest friends today also moved to London after we finished our degree. So a lot of the most important people in my life were already in London. It just seemed like the place I needed to be. I chose to stay in Edinburgh for my master's degree despite really wanting to move, because it was a lot more sensible financially for me and my parents could put me up, and that was wonderful. But luckily I then was able to apply for PhDs down here at a university with wonderful staff and a wonderful academic atmosphere that were really passionate about the field I was passionate about, and I got accepted, and I started my PhD in January of this year, but didn't move down immediately because I was studying part-time and was only partially funded, so wanted to have a job to coincide with that PhD. And I know a few people actually have asked since I said I moved down to London if I'm still doing my PhD, which I feel like I mentioned, but maybe it was very briefly in my announcement video. I said that I'm still doing my PhD. I've always been doing it part-time, and I'm still doing it part-time. So I essentially have a job and I study part-time on the side, and so far that is working for me. I'm still in the very much early stages of my PhD, and I am really enjoying, and I thought I would enjoy, but was a little bit apprehensive because it's really difficult to actually know how things are going to work out until you're doing them. The variety, I really like that I get to do so many different things. It does keep me very busy, But I love all of those things, so I'm really enjoying getting to be a part of all of them, both at my job and at my university, and it's been so wonderful. There's lots of things about leaving Scotland and Edinburgh that were quite sad, and there are people that I miss being down here, although lots of those people I will still get to see, just less frequently, like my parents. I mean, if I don't see them before, we'll be spending Christmas together. But I did have to leave some things behind, and that was really hard, and I loved so many things about Edinburgh and Scotland, but this I can say with absolute certainty was the right decision for me. And just anytime I think about talking to you about what the past month or 7 weeks have been like, I feel really happy, and I haven't felt this truly happy in a while. I have felt a little bit like I've been waiting for things to happen, whereas now I feel like they're happening, and I'm just so glad that I'm here. Like I said, I'm crazy busy these days. Every minute of the day is very full, but at least it's of things I enjoy doing. Although last night I had the whole evening to myself. I had no other obligations, and I just caught up with YouTube videos and drank some wine, and it was great. But I like being busy, and I love that so many people that I love live down here. I feel like so much more is going on, and I feel surrounded by people that I love and care about, and I really feel very grateful that I have that down here. I already have that wonderful basis of people who I consider like family to me, friends. So since I've been down here specifically, I've given my first ever academic paper, which was nerve-wracking but incredibly exciting, and it was a really enjoyable experience, and the people that came to listen to the paper, the undergrads and the other staff at the university, were so enthusiastic, and it was really nice to engage with them about my research and share my research with them and hear their thoughts on it. I really enjoyed that. I was very nervous. I haven't presented any of the research I've done for my PhD publicly to anybody, so it was quite nerve-wracking, but it was such a good experience, and I really enjoyed that. If you would like to read a little bit about a tiny bit of my research, I actually published a tiny article on the Dangerous Women's Project, which is run by scholars at Edinburgh University and publishes articles from across the disciplines, and even some video projects just collected together by the theme of dangerous women, and they published tiny little article. I think it was like 1,500 words or something like that I wrote that stemmed from some of the research from my PhD. And again, that met really well. I know some of you have read it and have said really nice things about it, so that was really nice. I actually wrote that in my first week of living in London. I submitted that to them, so that was a good start. I've made some videos I am particularly proud of at my new job. It's really nice having the support and the time and the resources to put so much effort and try out new different things with my videos, and I am working with some really wonderful people, and I feel like what's come out of that are some videos I'm really proud of. Not to mention the fact that I've got to meet some really interesting authors, including Tony Robinson, who is one of my childhood heroes. I got to interview him, which was so good. If you can tell by this video, this is just very much a list of wonderful things. I'm somebody that really likes to focus on the good things, and these are the things that I feel summarise my time in London best. I have also been struggling with things like flat hunting, which is not fun, and my friends I am flat hunting with will tell you the same. It's very stressful. It's financially going to be a massive burden. It is very time consuming. But we will get there. This is not my home. If you haven't guessed by that, I've had a lot of compliments on things like bed linen and the paintings in the background of some of my videos, but none of them belong to me. And I don't know where any of them are from. I've eaten a lot of food since I've got here. So much more food to choose from. It's London. And a couple of people have thought to leave very considerate comments about how they've noticed I've put on weight recently. It's just, I mean, thank you for caring. One thing that is unfortunate about London is slightly harder to find Iron Brew. If you're not familiar, Iron Brew is a fizzy drink, or pop or soda or whatever you call them, that is very, very popular in Scotland and is my favourite fizzy drink. And it is here in London, don't get me wrong, big supermarkets usually have it, but I do prefer the sugar-free version, simply for taste, which is a lot harder to find than the regular version, and not all like local corner shops have Iron Brew. Also, even harder to find, as in I haven't found it yet, is veggie haggis. And veggie haggis is one of my favourite meals. I regularly made myself veggie haggis as a meal in the past and haven't managed to do so since I've moved to London, but I'll find some. If not, I'll get my parents to post me some or bring some home at Christmas time. But I do miss it. I have to say I've not felt terribly homesick. I think about week 3 I had a week where I felt quite low. But it passed relatively quickly. I can only say I really felt homesick for maybe a week or so, and I think I'm very lucky. I do feel very lucky to live in this day and age as well, where I can phone my parents every day if I want, and WhatsApp and text my friends back in Scotland really easily. Like, I just sometimes talk to my mum on the phone when I'm walking places, and that's really nice because it just, I think it dilutes that homesickness feeling you might get because they don't feel that far away. And like I said, I've been so busy, there's not really a lot of time to feel homesick, and I was lucky that people that I love already lived here. So where this video could have been a really kind of meaningful, thoughtful video on homesickness, I can't say I feel terribly homesick at this point. And I think that's also to do with the fact with how long I've been wanting to come down to London, how this has kind of been in the works for quite a while, my age, that kind of thing, and just past experiences. So one of the things I've also felt since I moved down here is like 100 times more Scottish, and I think that's just because I don't sound like most of the people I meet every day. Although I don't actually have a terribly broad accent, and you might not realise that if you aren't familiar with Scottish accents. A lot of you probably just think, oh my god, she sounds so Scottish. I do sound Scottish, I definitely have an accent, but in Scotland I do not sound the most Scottish. Whereas here, I sound the most Scottish of most people. Even my Scottish friends that have moved down here don't have as broad accents as I do, so I definitely am one of the most Scottish people in the circles I've been moving in, and I've had quite a few people say to me, are you from Scotland? I'm like, yes, I am. And I find that quite funny. It doesn't make me feel out of place or anything, it's just interesting that obviously in Scotland nobody's going to say to you, you have a Scottish accent, because most people do. So it's just an interesting thing I've observed, although there's a fellow Scot on my team at work, so that is nice. I'm trying to think what else I've done or has happened since I moved to London. I should have really made notes, shouldn't I? Perhaps I should just sort of end this video here. It's been a very positive video, I think, and maybe open up the floor for some questions. That might help me know what to talk about in a future video. If you maybe have any questions about London, what it's like moving to London, maybe more like specific things that I've not really touched on here, or broad things that don't just apply to me, then you could ask them down below, and I could film a separate video which is sort of answering your questions about my move to London. Would that be something that would interest you? If it would, then like I said, leave some questions, and if I get a few then I'll definitely turn it into a video. And I don't know how familiar you are with London, but this place is dirty. It's really, really dirty, and my skin is so greasy. Like, the greasiness has upped tenfold. I'm hoping it'll calm down slightly as it acclimatises, but at the moment the underground, the just general dirty air, probably the water being different, has really affected my skin, but my hair is a lot shinier. So, you win some, you lose some, really. I will never, ever get used to the tap water here though. It's fine, but the tap water in London has nothing on the tap water in Scotland.